Hello, English learners, and welcome. I'm your host, Paul. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Excited to chat about English learning today. Today we're getting into something I know causes a lot of frustration for English learners, and that's understanding fast-spoken English.
That's right. You're watching a movie, trying to catch a conversation, and suddenly it just sounds like this blur of sound. It
Mm,
can leave you feeling lost, maybe even wondering if your English just isn't, well, good enough.
absolutely, that feeling of just being completely overwhelmed by the speed. But here's the thing, right? If you find fast English hard, it doesn't automatically mean your English level is the issue.
No, not at all.
It's often more about how native speakers naturally talk. Connecting words, shortening things, stressing certain parts.
Mm.
It's just different from the textbook sometimes.
Exactly. It's less about sheer speed, actually, and more about these natural shortcuts that happen in spoken language. And that's really what we want to unpack today.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is to figure out why fast English feels so difficult sometimes. We'll look at how native speakers actually sound in everyday chat, and crucially, give you some practical things you can do to get better at understanding it.
The goal is that by the end, you'll not only get why it's tricky, but also feel, more confident and equipped to handle it.
Okay, let's jump right in then. Why does English often sound so incredibly fast?
Well, that feeling, that perception of like lightning speed, it's super common for learners. But interestingly, it isn't always because English speakers are talking objectively faster than speakers of other languages. It's more about how the pronunciation changes in natural speech.
Right. And I guess the first big piece of that is connected speech, how words just seem to flow into each other.
Precisely. Connected speech, or linking as it's often called, is key. Basically, native speakers tend to blend the final sound of one word right to the first sound of the next one. They don't usually pronounce each word like
Uh-huh.
separately. This makes speech smoother.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it can be really confusing if you're listening for distinct gaps between words.
Yeah, I can see that. Can you give us a classic example?
Sure. Think about, what are you doing?
Mm.
Spoken very deliberately, you'd hear, what are you doing? Clear separation. But in casual conversation, it very often becomes something much more like, what you doing?
What you doing?
Yeah.
The T and what and the A and R kind of merge, and the RU squishes together too.
Right, and what you almost sounds like one single word if you're not ready for it. What about another common one?
How about did you eat?
Okay.
Instead of hearing three clear sounds, did you eat, you'll very often hear did ya eat.
Did you eat?
Yep.
Again, the sounds just sort of melt together at the word boundaries.
So like the words aren't individual bricks anymore, they're being sort of molded together into new shapes.
That's a great way to put it. And the second big reason for this feeling of speed is word reduction. Native speakers in casual speech, they shorten words all the time, even whole phrases sometimes.
Oh yeah, we definitely hear these constantly. What are some really common ones people would know?
Well, the classic going to nearly always becomes gonna,
Gonna, yeah.
want to, usually turns into wanna.
Wanna.
And you could even get combinations like do you want to?
Right.
Often sound like do you wanna?
Do you wanna? Wow.
Yeah. And of course, gotta becoming gotta.
Gotta. Yeah, those are like little verbal shortcuts, aren't they? They just fly by.
They really do. And don't forget contractions. They're another type of reduction. I am shrinking to I'm, he will, becoming he'll.
Right.
These shortenings add up quickly and definitely make speech sound faster.
It's like this efficient code native speakers use without even, thinking about it.
Exactly.
Uh,
And then there's a third key thing, unstressed words. See, not every word in a sentence gets the same emphasis. Some words are stressed, they're clearer, louder, maybe a bit longer. But others are weak, unstressed. They become quieter and, crucially, faster.
okay, yeah. Can you show us how that works in a sentence?
Sure, take a simple one. I went to the store. If you expect equal stress, you might listen for I went to the store. But naturally, the main meaning is in went and store. So those get the stress.
Right.
The little words to and the, they become really weak and quick, like tuh and thuh. So you hear something more like I went to the store.
Ah, okay. So the important words stand out and the grammar words kind of get rushed over. That makes sense.
It does. So, if you're struggling with fast English, it's really important to realize it's often not about your overall English knowledge. It's more about tuning your ear into these natural features, the linking, the reductions, the stress patterns, which are often quite different from textbook English.
Okay, so we've got a good handle on why it sounds fast. Now let's maybe zoom in a bit more on the what. What are the specific things happening in fast speech?
Yeah, good idea. We've sort of touched on them, but let's make them really clear. We're talking mainly about those three things again: linking sounds, word reductions, and also drop sounds. That's another important one.
Okay, let's start with linking again. Maybe another example or two.
Definitely. Think about saying turn it off.
Turn it off.
Pronounced separately, it's turn it off,
Yeah.
but very often the N sound at the end of turn links smoothly to the I vowel in it.
Huh.
So it sounds much more like turn it off. One continuous sound.
Turn it off. Yeah, I hear that. It's like the consonant just reaches over to the next word's vowel.
Exactly. And another common pattern is when a word ends in a consonant and the next starts with that same consonant sound, or a very similar one, like I need time. The D in need and the T in time are similar sounds made in a similar place in the mouth. Often you only really hear one of those sounds clearly, like I need time. The first one kind of gets absorbed.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just vowels linking. Consonants can sort of merge, too.
Right. Now, word reductions, again, we mentioned gonna and wanna.
Mm-hmm.
It's just worth hammering home how common these are.
I am going to very often becomes I'm gonna.
Found.
Do you want to becomes do you want?
You want.
And what are you doing can easily shrink to what you doing. What you doing, yeah. These really speed things up, but I can totally see how they'd sound like missing words if you weren't expecting them.
Totally. And that brings us nicely to the third feature, dropped sounds. This is where certain sounds, sometimes even whole syllables, just disappear in fast, casual speech.
Right, this is where it feels like the language is really bending the rules.
It kind of is. Take a word like internet.
Internet.
Very often, especially in American English, that middle T sound after the N gets dropped or softened significantly. So you hear internet.
Internet, yeah, that's super common. What's another one?
How about I don't know? Very, very frequently becomes I don't know. The T and don't just vanishes.
I don't know. Yeah, it's much quicker. So the letters are still there when you write it, but they might not actually get pronounced in conversation.
Exactly. And that's why you might understand your teacher perfectly or understand a news report, but then struggle with a movie or a chat with friends. It's those links, reductions, and drop sounds making the difference.
Okay, this is all making so much more sense. We know why it's hard. We know what makes it hard. Now, the crucial part, what can we actually do about it? What are some strategies?
Right. Let's get practical. If you feel like you're always a step behind in fast conversations, these are designed to help you catch up.
Okay, strategy number one.
Strategy 1. Train your ears gradually. Start with slower audio and work your way up to normal speed. The idea is to let your brain adjust without being totally overwhelmed right away.
So how would you actually do that? Like practically?
Well, lots of platforms, YouTube, Netflix, many podcast apps have playback speed controls.
Right.
So find some English audio, maybe start listening at 0.75x speed, get comfortable understanding it there. Then, once that feels okay, bump it up to normal speed. 1x, it's like wading into the pool instead of diving straight into the deep end.
I like that analogy, easing yourself in. Okay, that sounds doable. What's strategy number 2?
Number 2, listen and read at the same time. Use subtitles or transcripts. This is super powerful for connecting the sounds you're hearing with the words as they're written.
How does reading along help specifically with the fast stuff, the linking and reductions?
Because you visually see the full words, like going to, while you simultaneously hear the reduced form. Go, huh?
Oh. Yeah.
Your brain starts to actively make that connection. You see turn it off written, but you hear turn it off, and you start to recognize that pattern. Same for drop sounds.
So you're basically training your brain to map the written form onto the spoken reality.
Exactly. Use podcasts with transcripts, audiobooks with text, movies with subtitles. Start with them on, then try turning them off as you get better.
Makes sense. Strategy number 3.
Strategy 3 is a technique called shadowing. It's great for both listening and pronunciation.
Shadowing. Okay, tell me more. How does that work?
You listen to a short chunk of native speech, just a sentence or phrase,
Mm-hmm.
and then immediately, like an echo, you repeat it back. You try to copy the speed, the pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation as closely as you can.
So if I hear, what do you want to do tonight? I immediately try to say, what do you want to do tonight?
Yeah.
exactly like that.
Exactly like that. Forces your mouth and ears to sync up and really process the sounds and flow of natural, faster speech. Get your brain used to it.
Okay, might feel a bit weird at first, but I can really see the benefit there. What's strategy number 4?
Number 4 is about focus. Concentrate on the main keywords, not every single little word.
Why is that so important for fast speech?
Because, like we said, native speakers often rush or reduce the small grammatical words. They don't always say every the, a, to perfectly clearly. But the main meaning is usually carried by the nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, the content words. If you can catch those, you can often get the gist, even if some smaller words blur past.
Right. So give us an example.
Okay, say someone asked, do you want to grab some coffee later?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of stressing about hearing the da wanna or some perfectly, focus on catching grab coffee later. Those key words tell you the core message. An invitation for coffee sometime soon.
That definitely lowers the pressure. You don't need 100% comprehension. Good. Okay, number 5.
Strategy 5 is simple but vital. Listen every single day. Consistency is key.
Even if it's just for a little bit?
Absolutely. Even just 5 or 10 minutes of focused listening daily makes a huge difference over time. Podcasts, YouTube, songs, whatever you enjoy. Consistent exposure just helps your brain naturally adjust to the rhythms and sounds. Fast English starts to feel less fast.
Okay, let's recap those 5 strategies quickly. 1, train with slow, then fast audio. 2, listen and read together. 3, practice shadowing. 4, focus on keywords. And 5, listen every day. That's a really solid toolkit.
It is. And now let's talk about actually using these strategies with real, authentic conversations.
Right, because listening exercises are great, but the real goal is understanding people out there in the world.
Exactly. Hearing real people talk naturally is the ultimate practice. You get all the variations, the different speeds, the ums and ahs, the interruptions, everything.
So how can people get more exposure to that authentic stuff?
Well, method 1 is pretty accessible. Watch TV shows, movies, or YouTube content with real, unscripted sounding dialogue.
You mean like sitcoms or reality TV, maybe?
Yeah, things like sitcoms Friends, The Office, Modern Family are often recommended because the dialogue feels quite natural and everyday. Or on YouTube, look for interviews, vlogs, panel discussions, places where people are just talking, not reading a script.
And again, using subtitles first is probably a good idea here.
Definitely. Start with subtitles on to connect the sound and text. Then challenge yourself later by turning them off. See how much you can catch just by listening.
Okay, good plan. What's another way to hear real conversations?
Method 2. Listen to podcasts that feature real conversations.
Hmm.
Like this one, hopefully. Many podcasts are intentionally conversational, not tightly scripted, so they reflect natural speech patterns really well.
And how can listeners get the most out of listening to podcasts for this purpose?
Be an active listener. Don't just let it play in the background. Maybe pause after a sentence or two and try to repeat what you just heard. Focus on the speed, the pronunciation. It makes a big difference.
That sounds like applying the shadowing technique to podcast listening.
Pretty much, yeah. And method 3, the most direct approach, is to actually have conversations with real people.
Right. Maybe the most challenging, but probably the most effective in the long run.
For sure. If you have English-speaking friends or colleagues, try to chat with them more. If not, look into language exchange partners online. There are tons of platforms for that. And hey, even talking to yourself in English counts. Practice responding quickly, simulating a conversation. It helps build fluency and processing speed.
Talking to yourself, I like that. Low pressure practice. Okay, so the 3 methods for real conversations. Watch authentic TV video, listen actively to conversational podcasts, and find ways to talk with real people, even yourself.
Exactly. Now, there's one more big thing we need to talk about, which is more of a mindset issue.
Oh.
It's the habit of translating everything in your head.
Ah, yes. The mental translation barrier, so common. Why is that such a problem for understanding fast speech?
Because translation takes time. Native speakers aren't translating. They're understanding directly. If you're trying to catch every word, translate it into your language, understand it, and then catch the next word. Well, the speaker's already way ahead of you. You just fall behind.
Yeah, it's like you're running the audio through this slow internal processor. The conversation just leaves you in the dust.
Precisely. The speed just breaks that translation process. The real goal, the breakthrough, is learning to think more directly in English.
Okay, but how? How do you actually start thinking in English if it's not your first instinct?
Well, one key way is to train your brain to recognize common phrases or chunks of language as single units. Don't break them down into individual words to translate.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure, like that phrase, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Instead of seeing what are you going to do and translating each one, learn to recognize the whole chunk, what are you going to do, as meaning, tell me about your future plans. Treat it like one block of meaning.
Got it. So you build up a library of these ready-made phrases in your head. That speeds things up. What else helps with thinking in English?
Also, shifting your focus from understanding every single word to just grasping the main idea, the overall message.
So aim for the gist, not perfection.
Exactly. Honestly, even native speakers don't catch every single word all the time, especially if it's noisy or someone's mumbling or talking really fast. We use context, keywords, general knowledge to fill in the gaps. So don't beat yourself up if you miss a word. If you understood the main point, you succeeded.
That's really important. Okay, so the mindset shift. Stop translating word by word, think in chunks or phrases, and focus on the main idea. That feels like a much more achievable goal.
It really is. And to help with all of this, let's finish up with some quick, powerful daily exercises you can do.
Excellent. Practical exercises are always good. What have you got?
Okay, exercise 1, the 1-minute listening challenge. Find a short audio clip, just about a minute long, podcast snippet, YouTube clip, movie scene, anything with natural speech.
Okay, 1 minute. What do you do with it?
3 steps. First, listen once. No subtitles, no text. Just try to understand as much as you can. Don't worry if it's not perfect.
Okay.
Second, listen again with subtitles or a transcript.
Right.
Read along, see what you missed, connect the sounds to the words.
Right.
Third, listen one last time, no text again. See how much more you understand now compared to the first time.
Yeah.
It really focuses your listening.
I like that. Focused, short, and you get immediate feedback. Okay, exercise 2.
Exercise 2. Just spend a few minutes doing that shadowing practice we talked about. Find a sentence or two, listen, and immediately repeat, mimicking the speed, rhythm, and sounds as closely as possible.
Got it. Quick, targeted practice on the actual sounds and flow. And number 3.
Exercise 3. Listen and summarize. After listening to a short piece of audio, maybe a few minutes of a podcast or a conversation, try to quickly summarize the main points out loud or jot them down in English.
And how does summarizing help with the speed aspect?
It forces you to focus on extracting the core meaning, the main ideas, rather than getting stuck on individual words you didn't catch. It trains you to listen for the message.
Brilliant. So the 1-minute challenge, shadowing practice, and listen and summarize. 3 great, simple things to do daily.
Absolutely. And remember, consistency is everything. A little bit every day adds up far more than one long section once a week. You'll see improvement.
Wow, okay. We've covered so much today, from why fast English is hard to the specific features like linking and reductions, right through to practical strategies and daily exercises.
We really have. And if there's one main thing to take away, it's please don't get discouraged. Understanding fast speech is a skill. Like any skill, it takes time, it takes patience, and it definitely takes consistent practice. You will get better.
That's such a crucial reminder. So, maybe a little challenge for everyone listening. For the next week, just 7 days, try picking one of those daily exercises, the 1-minute challenge, shadowing, or summarizing, and commit to doing it every day. Just one.
Yeah, great idea. And we'd genuinely love to hear how you get on. Let us know in the comments or send us a message. Share your progress, your challenges, anything. We're rooting for you.
And of course, if you found this useful, do check out our other deep dives for more tips on improving your English listening and speaking.
Absolutely. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive for today. Keep practicing, keep listening actively.
And happy learning!